So let's get started. First of all, I want to welcome Nikki Sanders. Really excited to have her here today. She is, and we'll let her introduce herself, but I know that she does something really cool at a really big company here in Utah. That's awesome. So excited to have her. The thing that I like about Nikki's background for this discussion today is she's a developer, right? She gets into the code. She's writing the smart contracts, and that's a different position than I'm coming from. I have my opinions about the purpose and the utility and how can we direct the technology in a decent direction. But she knows why it works or why it doesn't work, and I think that's what we're here to talk about today. Is should we go through the effort of doing a smart contract to accomplish something that maybe could be done on a traditional database or something like that, right? So we'll get into that in a minute. But Nikki, if you could just introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Nikki, and I am the head of blockchain research and development at TaxBit. I have been in the crypto space since 2015 as a developer, and then also as an investor. I kind of got thrown into it, not really knowing much about it when I started, and then quickly kind of had to learn as the space grew. So I kind of got really lucky and got in a really cool space at a really cool time, really as Ethereum was starting to become a thing and really picking up popularity during the ICO craze and tokenizing assets and all the issues that came there. So I really got to learn smart contracts and blockchain technology really as it was growing. And I had like the hard way before there was good documentation and a lot of like the cool features and tools that are available now. But so yeah, I come through this as a dev perspective, and that's going to be my bias on this conversation. But also as a user and an investor.
Awesome, thank you. How many NFTs do you own?
I don't have a ton. I have, I think I have 2 right now that I've purchased, and then I participate in a couple of like the Discord groups and some of like the daily drops where you have to you retweet something and you do your bid and see if you've gotten picked, and so I play around with it a little bit, but I have purchased 2.
Got it. Very cool. Do you have a favorite project out there that's, whether you've purchased or not, but just one that you follow?
Yeah, the one that I'm really following right now is called Bull Market Girlfriends. I kind of always think it's silly how like the biggest popular trends on NFTs that I see as far as the art is like monkeys, like all the apes, or girls. But who doesn't love like a beautiful painting of a girl? And so I love her art and the work that she's done on this. So I think, yeah, they just look really cool to me. She's a very talented artist. She really cares about the community and is in the Discord and is really involved. And so I really like that project.
That's cool. They also have this, I don't think I've seen one of these since like 1998 or something,
Yeah.
Little trails on the mouse or something, but that's cool. So it looks like they're doing a little OpenSea marketplace right here on the website, and that's great. That's fun. Cool. Well, check that out if you want, those of you that are attending here. So great. Welcome, John from Walton Art Center. John and I need to connect on other things, but good to see you here. So well, good. I think let's just dive in, Nikki. I just have a bunch of questions, and I hope you have. By the way, guys, this is a completely unscripted discussion, and that's how I wanted it to be. I've just been thinking about this, and Nikki and I have talked some about this offline, and I thought this would be a really interesting discussion to have with everybody else listening. I have a lot of people coming to me and saying, we want to do NFTs. Hey, I'm an artist. Hey, I'm a musician. Hey, I have a company. Hey, I have a startup. I have a foundation. I have a charity. I have whatever, right? And everyone wants into the NFT game. Everyone. And Nikki, I have to imagine you get even more requests than I do to talk about this. And I think that's great. I think it's fantastic that people are looking at new technology and they want to be pioneers and they don't want to miss this moment. And no one knew what an NFT was until people sold something for $69 million, and then everyone knew what it was, right? And or at least they think or thought they knew what it was. And so that's what I want to talk about today, right? Is should it be an NFT project? So let's start from a technical level, Nikki. What does blockchain, or what do NFTs in this structure offer? And what is the non-blockchain equivalent of that? And could you give maybe an example of that?
Sure. So really what an NFT is, it's a token, which in the blockchain, it's literally just a smart contract when you just bring it down to the technical level. But what's different about these smart contracts is they have a unique identifier that kind of like shows that it like gives it an ID of like, okay, this contract is unique because it has this identifier. And then inside of that, it will have a link to some piece of media or something to kind of link it to the actual piece of art. And there's a couple ways people could do that. They throw it on like an AWS, like S3 bucket to host it there, or the more popular and like kind of more accepted version is like putting it on a distributed file system like IPFS. But really the NFT itself is just some code on the blockchain that points to where this image or whatever media, insert media here, is stored.
So no, that's perfect. I saw today that I want to see if I can pull it up here and find the post. Let's see here. Tampa Bay home auctioned off as first real estate NFT. So you can point to a piece of media or apparently a house too. And I've talked about that before on previous webinars, right? Where you can really point at anything.
Right.
Nas, when he did his royalties recently, if you go to the website where he's doing, I forget what it's called. But if you click on one of the NFTs, there's then a link to a legal contract.
Yep.
That says, here is your share of the revenue of this single that he's releasing and sharing some profits in this, right? And so you can buy up to,
so cool.
I don't know, each NFT you can buy up to 2% profit or something, a part of the profit pool, basically, that's being shared there. So, so essentially you've got something that's on the blockchain. Now, let's talk about that for a second. How hard is it to write a smart contract on the blockchain versus, a traditional database or something that would just be recording these transactions on a normal server? Is it much harder? Is it 200% harder? Is it easier? Is it the same? What's the difficulty?
Probably at this point, there's so many tools in place that it is pretty easy. You don't have to be super technical to be able to do it. Like OpenSea, especially, you can just go on there. I mean, it takes a certain level of technical knowledge of like, you have to have a MetaMask account or some sort of other non-custodial wallet to sign your transaction, and you have to have your own address. So there does take some kind of prep work to do it, and you have to like hold ETH in your wallet. If
Yeah.
you're
What does it cost? Does it cost money to do it?
Yeah. So that is where that's going to get you, is that cost. That initial cost, especially right now, is pricey. Like gas fees, like they're going to get you. So compared to a database that I can just spin up on AWS right now, it's much more expensive to make an NFT.
Okay. What about the ongoing usage of it? Let's go on cost for a second and just drill into that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but every time you do something on the blockchain, there's going to be some sort of cost associated with it, right? Some sort of gas fee. Whereas in a database on AWS, you're paying for a server every month, and you might pay, depending on usage, you might pay anywhere from $10 a month to $100 a month if you're getting crazy usage out of it. But isn't it much more expensive? And we'll talk about speed in a second, but let's talk about cost for a second.
Sure. I mean, any change that you make to the blockchain, you are paying to make that storage change. So if you're just holding an NFT, like you mint it or you buy it, you're holding it, that's free. You could do that forever. So that's where you'll save money if you're just planning on buying and holding, versus a database. You could store an image in a database for very cheap. It's very easy, but you're going to be paying in perpetuity just to keep that live.
Right. Of course. And somebody in the comments here said reads are free. Totally. That's definitely
only
true.
Storage changes.
Yep. It's anytime you're adding something new, or you're selling something, or you're minting something, whatever you're doing there, it's going to be that. So now let's talk about speed. Is blockchain efficient from a speed perspective versus other options that are out there?
Absolutely not. So a blockchain, like really, when you get down to it, it is a decentralized, slow database, expensive database as well.
Mhm.
So really, like, the rule of thumb is if it does not need to be decentralized, and uh, then you might not want to put it on a blockchain. So with an NFT, you might want it to be in a decentralized system, that can be traded around. But if it, what I mean, we've seen it where like Adidas does a big NFT launch, and all of a sudden the whole Ethereum network is brought to its knees, and
Shuts down.
your block, like, to make any change to the blockchain, you're waiting up to 5-10 minutes. So you're not going to get a like quick response time. So you have to just kind of, that's something you have to be prepared for with this technology. Is it's going to happen asynchronously. It's not going to be fast.
So potentially millions of times slower than a traditional database that would
Absolutely.
be
Yes.
thousands of writes per second,
Mhm.
right? As opposed to this, which has to wait. You have to wait your turn, right?
Yep.
Will you explain to everybody how that works? Like why do you have to wait your turn? What are there's things called blocks, I think, that help manage that.
There are. Yeah. So really, like, how the blockchain works is you take a like bunch of transactions, and you kind of like package them together, and you stick it on the chain, and then you move on to the next group of transactions. And like anytime you submit a transaction to the blockchain, they're going to sit in the mempool, is what it's called. And it sits there until a miner like is going to mine that block, or whatever, staking, the bakers or validators, whatever they call it. And they take those transactions, and they take the fees associated with those transactions, and package together the transactions, put them on the chain. So you can pay extra gas to kind of like move your way up on that list of transactions that are waiting to be mined. But that can be expensive. Sometimes miners, if you pay a lot of extra fees, specifically won't pick up your transaction. So you're not guaranteed your place. So that's kind of what happens. And that's why things can be slow if a lot of people are trying to submit transactions at the same time.
So that's currently, right? What are there, I'm sure a lot of people are working on making this faster. Are there specific blockchains that do it faster today than, let's move away from Ethereum, maybe that's slow. So two questions. Are there better chains today? And what are the plans that people have to speed this up and make it actually more efficient?
Sure. Yeah. And that's kind of why I think a lot of chains have been spinning up, besides like the initial big smart contracting chain of Ethereum. Like you have Solana, and then in addition to Ethereum, of all the layer 2s that are coming out, like Polygon, Avalanche, things like that. So they can move a lot faster. They both have it, like Solana, it's kind of built into the protocol. It's just a lot lighter weight, and they have they can add in like shorter block close times. So that means like how long between blocks are going to be added. They can kind of mess with those things. And then they have lighter, just really lighter traffic. So you're competing with fewer transactions to try to get your transaction on the chain.
Talk a little bit about proof of stake versus proof of ownership. What does that actually mean? You hear that a lot, and I want to hear it from you who knows what that actually means.
Sure. So a proof of work would be like current Ethereum, Bitcoin. So really the original blockchain consensus algorithm. So what that does is anyone can run a miner, and you're like trying to find the answer to this mathematical problem, and whoever gets it first, they win, they get to mine the block. Proof of stake, so things that are negative with that, it can be really like energy draining, it's slow. You've run into the issue where people are buying up all these like GPUs and making it really hard on gamers, because you want to have the fastest and best machine to do this mining, versus proof of stake, which is becoming way more popular right now. It's way more energy efficient, but you pretty much instead of being dependent on your processing power, your chance of mining or validating the next block is based on the stake you hold on the blockchain. And your stake is like the amount of tokens that you hold of that native coin on that chain. So if you have a bunch of like Cardano, and you decide to be a validator, depending on your proportion of Cardano versus all of the other validators in that network, you'll get picked about a proportional amount of times to when you get to add the block to the chain, you get the rewards to do so.
Yeah. Thank you. Cool. Now that's good. So in summary, just for the last 10 minutes, it's expensive. It's slow. There are new chains coming out to make it faster, to make this more efficient. And, with chains like Ethereum, they're trying to come out with the next version that makes it 1,000 times faster, 1,000 times cheaper, all those different things. And that will continue to happen over time. Me over here is very active in the chat, and that's great. And you're right, me, that we might not get into all of the details of all the technical side today. But we'll have plenty more webinars and whatever. But she said, the first automobiles were not efficient, and the first computers were not efficient. And that's absolutely true. This is new technology. It's getting better and better and better. But with that being said, because it is early technology, should there be so many people trying to do projects on it right now? Or are there other alternatives that are out there? I mean, there's lots of alternatives out there, obviously, right? But the question here is, when does it really matter? So let's move to that side of things. So what types of use cases, Nikki, are you seeing out there? And it could be related to just the traditional NFT art, or it could be something else you're seeing, but what's something out there that you're seeing, oh my gosh, that is the best use case of blockchain, of NFTs, of whatever right now? What are you seeing out there where you're just excited about it?
Yeah, NFTs for art, I think actually is great. It's like the first time where digital artists can really have ownership of their art, and then it takes care of a lot of problems with like royalties. Like, man, imagine, like, it's been this way for years. Someone like creates a cool piece of art, puts it on the internet, it's copied, and the artist never sees anything from it. Now, like, it's built into like OpenSea's protocol that the artist, like the original artist, can get like 10% of every sale forever. So stuff like that is so cool and just really helps the creative community, in my opinion. Another great thing I've been seeing is like ticketing. I know we've talked about that one before, but how great is that? Like, who hasn't had a problem with buying a ticket on Ticketmaster and like it's a scam? They gave you a fake ticket. They just messed with the barcode and you show up, it's not valid. Just takes care of that completely. And then there's you mentioned something with like buying that house, but like just property in general, and titling can be a problem. It's, every once in a while you hear on Reddit where someone like bought a house but found out like that the title was forged, and becomes a huge issue. And that's so easy to do. It's so easy to fake a signature, get a notary, like a shady notary, to notarize a new title, submit it, and all of a sudden it looks like you own a house, and the old owner, the original owner, the right owner, has no idea that this has happened. Really, blockchain could take care of that, where there's really proof of ownership. You cannot take that token, that NFT, from someone's wallet without their permission. So really, anything with like a strong need for proof of ownership is just a great application for NFTs. Oh, I think you're muted.
I muted, sorry. By the way, me in the chat is actually Michael. It was just shortened for because of Zoom, and that's fine. So Michael, thank you for the comments. Very good, Nikki. So art, perpetual royalties, amazing. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more because I believe in that a lot. And then proof of ownership of physical items, right? Again, it's kind of all the same thing, right? Art is proof of ownership of something, and then whether you're entitled to a house or a car or a truck that's being sold between one company to another. And by the way, just for those that are listening in, I've had a conversation or two or three or five about almost every use case that you can imagine, including all the ones that have been talked about here. I want to talk about, AJ asked a question about royalties and perpetual payouts for creators. I think this is amazing. A lot of art, if you look throughout history, lots of times the value doesn't go up until the creator's dead, right? But there's still estates and families and people that could be affected by that. And there are plenty of artists today that they sell their initial painting, and then someone famous likes it or says something about it and buys it. And so they've sold this painting for $1,000 or something. And then all of a sudden it's worth $2 million. And the original artist just gets to say, oh yeah, that's great. And so that might be good for the future. And it certainly is great and allows them to sell more, but can they participate in that ongoing cost? I think that's there are ways to do that, but there's no easy system to do that. I'm sorry, without blockchain, but there aren't really easy systems that are scalable, easy to manage, and most importantly, I think in this situation, trustless.
Right.
That's another thing that blockchain really brings to the picture here is if you release your art as an NFT tied to a good system, a good smart contract that allows for perpetual royalties, and then you can see every time it moves hands, that artist gets a little piece. The original artist gets a little piece of that of their creation ongoing.
It's so cool. That for artists, like that could be a game changer. I think that's really cool.
I agree. And I think that if you look also throughout history, the more advanced a society gets, the more time their people have to dedicate to the arts, whether that's music or art or sculpting or whatever, but the creative side of humanity, of which I am a big partaker. I'm a musician. I love to play the piano and I love to compose music. If you put a paintbrush in my hand, that's not worth anything for sure. I could probably be one of those like minimalist artists that like puts a dot on paper or something. I could do that,
There we go. That's something.
But that, anyway, but I do care about, I think I got something like 750,000 listens over the Christmas season of a new Christmas album that I released that I composed, and it was great and fun, but my payout was less than $200.
Oh, wow.
And so I put a huge amount of effort in. Luckily, I have a job and I'm doing fine, right? And I do music because it's fun, and I'm glad that that's the reason for it. In fact, I was a music major back at BYU for a little bit, and then decided I wanted to keep that as a hobby and do business. But I do really enjoy it, and the fact that so many people enjoyed my music is actually the payout that I care about. But a lot of people that did do the music major and are out there in the world, or maybe they're a kid and they're saying, hey, I want to do music for life, for my, to support my family. It is so hard. I know so many unbelievable composers and musicians out there that can't hardly pay rent. They have unbelievable talent, but the music industry is set up in a way that really doesn't allow for this perpetual royalty, that doesn't allow for ownership. Labels take a huge amount. And so there's a whole discussion we can go into here around how music, the music industry can be really turned on its head if you use NFTs and instead of having a label take everything or whatever, or Spotify take everything, you can sell NFTs to your fans, and they get to then share in the creation of it and support the creation of that music, and then also share a little bit ownership of it. And then most of the money can come back to the artist. The problem with that, I've actually talked through that a lot, is Spotify and Apple Music and other platforms like that are so dang convenient.
Yeah.
I own every single song ever for $10 a month. And so how do you beat that, right? And so there probably has to be an additional music platform that is, for artists by artists type thing. Good, probably a good name for a company, FABA, for artists by artists. Anyway, it's like FUBU with Damon John or whatever. But anyway, but if you could create something like that leverages that and makes it very easy to have a centralized place, an easy way to pull up all your music that you own, because people don't really want to download the MP3 anymore. That's 20 years ago, even, that's the past. And so it's great, right? AJ, who asked this question, it's a fantastic question, but there has to be a solution built on top of the blockchain that makes that actually possible at scale. Right now, one-offs are okay, but it's a good opportunity, right? Somebody wants to jump in and do that. So good. What else? What else, Nikki? What else is good on the blockchain from a technical perspective, right? What else is interesting to you? And could be NFT or non-NFT related.
Okay, like away from NFTs a little bit, I think like the next really big thing, and it's just gaining in popularity right now, is DeFi, so decentralized finance.
Mm-hmm.
A huge thing. And I think it's really gotten that big because it really has revealed some huge inefficiencies and inequalities within the current financial systems. So that's something that I find extremely interesting, extremely cool, and just a great application of blockchain technology. I mean, banking the unbanked is being like finally able to be a thing where these people who just were completely left out of the current financial system can participate and can be brought in with no credit check, like nothing really to get started. And bam, they have access to all of these financial transactions that they haven't before. And so that's been a really fun thing for me to participate in, to learn about, to help develop. And then at TaxBit, like we get to really explore all the possibilities, see what people are doing, and just trying to kind of create tooling around it to make it more like user friendly and to fit into like our legal system, so people aren't getting into trouble. So it's just multifaceted, but really cool.
And I think you could almost, I was just thinking, banking the unbanked is cool, but you also kind of unbank the banked, right? Because even people that do have access to the current system right now, let's get them out of an old, antiquated, those mean the same thing, but an antiquated system that that can be upgraded significantly. For example, what's an average interest rate that you can earn on DeFi within DeFi as compared to traditional banking?
Oh, it's just insane. Like a good, like stable, like either like staking income or something like that. I mean, you could get a solid 8% easy, like without a lot, with like low risk, like just easy peasy. You don't have to go through 12 steps to get there. You can get 8%, which that is unheard of in traditional banking and traditional finance. Like you cannot get 8% doing anything. So just, it's insane. Just the possibility.
And that can be as simple as buying like a stable coin on something like crypto.com or Coinbase, and then just clicking the stake button.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, it's becoming so user friendly. I mean, there still obviously is going to be a little bit of a technological like hump you have to get over, that you have to have some base knowledge, but I feel like companies are coming out to really like lower that barrier for entry like all the time. So I see within the next year that not even being an issue, people being able to download an app, participating in DeFi without even having to know anything about how blockchain works, how smart contracts work. That'll all be kind of hidden under the covers. That I feel like that's coming really soon.
So here's a question, and you may or may not have the answer, but I just want to ask it. And if anyone watching has the answer, feel free to chime in the chat or questions. As more and more people, like let's say right now there's 10 million people using DeFi. I don't know if that's the right number. We're just going to use it.
No.
What happens when there's 500 million people? Do those interest rates hold, or do they go down as more people, as it becomes more of a global system? And is there really just big interest rates for the early adopters? And therefore that would maybe convey some sort of risk. And that's why you're getting a higher return.
And I think that definitely could be the case, but I could also see that those interest rates kind of just be more supported and even safer to do. Because so the way that some of these platforms are able to give such great interest rates is they are like, if you're giving them your crypto and then they're paying out, the interest, they're lending that out on the other side to people taking out loans. That is still such a new thing. I think if more people are getting in, I could see like that both sides of that transaction are actually getting bolstered. So I could see like the interest rates they could possibly go up because more people are interested in crypto loans. It could go down, but I don't think more people coming in necessarily just like tanks that interest rate.
Thank you. That's actually a perfect answer. And right now, banks are the ones that are making that interest, right? When they get a ton of capital, billions of dollars, they have access with that money, they can then access projects that have bigger returns, huge commercial real estate development projects, industrial projects, gas field, whatever, all kinds of ways to make money at 10, 20, 30, 40% rates, and even higher than that for certain projects. As a measly person putting in $1,000 into a savings account, you're not going to be able to take that $1,000 out and say, all right, I want to put this in a high yield thing and get that money back, right? And by the way, I'm the measly person putting $1,000 on. But because we're taking the bank out of the picture here, you get to become the bank. You get to lend your asset directly through the blockchain and then get that 8% interest or 60% interest in some cases.
Whatever someone's willing to pay. Yeah,
exactly.
It really becomes more of like a free market for lending, which I think is such like an interesting concept, really cool. And I think that's going to be a big thing. Just, it kind of opens it up of like, oh, a small business that can't get a traditional loan because they might not have credit, or, whatever reason, they can go with like free market. Hey, who's going to lend me money? They can there you have like the trusted system of like the actual like on-chain protocol to like have some guarantees in place. They don't have to trust each other. They don't have to know each other. And this transaction can happen without any third-party intermediary. Yeah.
So we won't spend the whole time on that. It's probably a good topic for another webinar here. But I think that's really, really interesting. And exciting. I think it's really exciting. And by the way, guys, do your own research on this. I just had somebody ask, where's the best place to stake? Do you have any recommendations, highest interest? Where would they go to learn? Nikki, where would you send them?
That is a good question. So it's one, you could always go to like Coinbase for a beginner. They have a great earn program. It's not like as high of interest rates, but you're still getting way above what you would get in a savings account. They make it super easy. There's an easy way to get money in, like you can ACH money in, super simple. Gemini does the same. I really like Gemini. And then when you kind of graduate beyond there, you can start getting into like a Voyager app or I like Celsius, and they will give a little bit of higher interest rates. Usually there's like tiers though. So it's like up to half an ETH, you can get 8%. And then the next half ETH, you get 5. So it usually kind of depends. So I kind of play around and play the game a little bit and spread my money out to different protocols. But there's a bunch out there right now.
Yeah. So she gave some good places to go learn. There's also a few companies in Utah that are up and coming with DeFi, trying to make it easier. Giddy is one of them that I'm fairly familiar with. Any other ones here that are worth mentioning?
Giddy's, I think Giddy's the big one.
I think Giddy's the main one here. So look up Giddy if you don't know them. They're an awesome group of people. So anyway, they're trying to make it easier, right? They want to make it easy enough so that my dad can do it, right? So that just someone could just go in, push some buttons, and they have access to it. And by the way, a year ago, it was almost impossible, right? Unless you knew exactly what you were doing, and it was a 12-step process to get into there. And Nikki's like, I've been doing this for 6 years, right? But and she has been, right? But
even for me, that was a lot.
It's still hard, yeah.
It was hard and it was complicated and it was scary because you're at any point, what if something fails? So even for an old timer, it was not an easy process. So I can't imagine how someone without so much experience could get in. So
yeah, that's interesting. Okay, good. Yes, wallets were still fragile. Yeah, good question or point here from Michael. AJ said, just found out that Portugal charges 0 taxes for crypto gains, something else to consider for investors. So yes, there are a lot of strategies around crypto. There are certain states that are better and some to avoid, right? For example, my understanding is that Texas is pretty hard to deal with crypto right now. And they have a lot of regulations in place, whereas Florida is very, very open, right? And Portugal as a country is very, very open, and they're trying to establish themselves as these, crypto capitals and bring investment, bring companies, bring people that, are interested in this. And so there's a lot of groups, trying to do that. And Yeah, someone just said there, Chris just said, I'm on my way, headed to Portugal. Portugal's a beautiful country, by the way. I had the opportunity to go there a few years ago for the Web Summit conferences out there every year. And I did it in 2019, and then the world shut down. And so I would have gone 2 more times, but they haven't held it. I hope to go this year, but man, that's a pretty country, and it's cheap too. Anyway, I digress. So back to the main topic here. And we probably have just another 10 minutes. We're going to end this at about 45 minutes today. Instead of an hour. But let's talk a little bit more about like why are NFTs really, really good, right? I know we've talked about, it's slow, it's expensive, but still, Seek, my company, right? Which I don't talk a lot about on these webinars, but we have an NFT community product, right? And we're building a lot of things on it, right? And so why are we choosing that? So I can talk about that. And then Nikki, share some of yours around some of what you're thinking about why it's really good. So I'll go first. I really like NFTs as an easy method of transacting. Mm-hmm. An automated, easy way of transacting. You can build this system, and I know you can do this through a database. You really can, right? But when you start to bring in payments, especially for something like art, or in some of the cases of the NFT projects we're working with big artists, big influencers, big colleges with their athletic teams and things like that. And, we have to create a lot of agreements really, really fast with a lot of people. And I can go in and say, look, you don't even have to trust me. You don't have to know me from Adam, because the system is transparent.
Yeah.
Everyone will be able to see it's perfectly auditable. Yep. And so as long as we actually deliver what we say we're going to deliver, it can happen there. And so that can create a relationship of trust much quicker. Now, there are definitely downsides to that in certain cases, but for the most part, that's a really cool way to go in and be able to just say, hey, this is what's happening. I think I also really, really like, and it's along these same lines, I really like the ability to transfer utility, right? You've heard me talk a lot about, those of you who have attended my webinars in the past, I believe that an NFT shouldn't exist without some sort of utility, right? So it's just a JPEG of a duck.
Not your thing.
Stay away from it. Don't ever touch it. Now, if it's a Gary V drawing, a VFriends drawing, the drawing isn't the value. The value is this gets you into VCon, right? Into Gary's, conference for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
There's real utility there, right? If you're part of the Bored Apes Club, there's a lot of real world utility tied to that. That's great. Good for them. Out of my league. There's, if you're working with a college, an athletic team, right? The NFT could be your ticket into the game. It could get you a discount on concessions. It could get you a free popcorn. It could let you have access to the tent at halftime to get a lunch or whatever, right? Access, exclusive drops, and being able to say, I had a group reach out to me the other day, and I thought it was a great use. I should probably talk about some of the ones that are not great, great use cases. We'll do that too. But this one was awesome. It was a wine of the month,
right?
Kind of club, right? And in order to be part of the club, they're only going to sell 1,000 of these NFTs. And so then a couple things happen here. Number one, that allows them to plan their inventory really well, which you can do. You could just have limited inventory and whatever, but you can transfer that. Like maybe it's a wine of the month club for 12 months, right? Or bacon of the month club. I like bacon. I don't actually drink wine, so that's a bad example for me, but this is the group that called me in to say this, right? But you could, maybe the wine is very special for some reason, right? I don't know what it is, right? But maybe it gets really popular and some celebrities get into the club and start saying, and they're talking about it, and you want to be part of the club, right? And so it might sell initially for, let's say, I don't know how to price wine, so we're going to put it at $30 a bottle. I know that's going to be a cheap wine, but we're going to just do that for easy math. So that's $360 is the initial price to buy into the wine of the month club. But then a celebrity buys in, or they discover, man, this wine is really, really good, and it just gets popular. That NFT, even though it only has maybe 9 uses left, because there's only 9 months left, it could sell for $700, right? It could just double in value because it was there. And that is nothing that I'm saying here. All of that is possible outside of the blockchain, but to transfer the right to those next 9 months to somebody else would require a lot of trust.
Yep.
In a traditional market, right? I would have to say, hey, Nikki, I want your wine of the month card. Give me your membership. And you say, great, PayPal me, Venmo me, whatever, right?
And then I send you a fake card.
And you send me a fake card, or you don't, you stiff me, whatever. They're like, hey, we'll send it to you after we send it. Hey, please send it via Western Union and have it say Prince Ali or whatever, right? There, scams happen all the time in these trust-based marketplaces. And that's really tough. Whereas in a smart contract on the blockchain, it's if you transfer, the money goes, the end, right? And that's really cool. I like that. I like organizations, clubs, influencers, musicians, whoever it is, to be able to say, I have things I want to offer my community. I have things I want to offer my my fans, whatever. And then here it is. You figure it out amongst yourselves, and the blockchain manages the trust, the trusted transfer piece in the middle.
Right. And then what's really cool too, on top of that, is like this system that you have set up, it's out there forever. You don't like forget to pay your AWS bill and that system goes down. Like it's out there forever. So that's just another aspect too. It's just, there's no maintenance. Like you deploy it and you're good. But I think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. Well, perfect, Nikki. Any last thoughts on we could keep this going for a while, but I do want to end this on time here. Thank you for joining. But any last thoughts on, parting thoughts on NFTs and why they're good or bad? Let me just ask this, and you elaborate. Thumbs up or thumbs down on NFT technology as it is today?
I absolutely love it. I think it's going to get better, but great use of blockchain tech. I think it's just going to get bigger. I think we're super new on the actual applications that NFTs can cover. So super bullish on that. And then I see someone, I think Michael, you asked about if an NFT is treated as property. In the United States, it's actually taxed as a collectible. So it's a little different than regular crypto, which is a property. So it's kind of more taxed like a piece of art. So kind of have to be careful on that. But you only are ever taxed if you sell, or if you, I think it's pretty much if you sell. So otherwise you're good to go. So if you're like minting and selling, that is taxable income. If you buy one and sell it, those proceeds, it might be susceptible to some tax burden there. But as long as you're just buying, that's your business.
By the way, to finish up here, will you just give the 30-second pitch on what is TaxBit? What's going on over there?
Yeah, so TaxBit is just the leading platform for crypto and digital asset tax and accounting software. So if you've been trading crypto, including NFTs, and anything has touched an account where you might be KYC'd, like you've sent your ID in and put your social security number in, you are liable for any taxes for any gains that you have earned. So TaxBit makes that super easy to just plug in your information. We quickly can calculate like all the taxable events that have happened and hand that over to you for your business to do what you will with. We don't do anything with reporting on it. We don't store any of your transaction data, but just to make it easier if you're trying to find the cost basis for every transaction that you've made in a year.
Bottom line is you help the individual by essentially providing the 1099, right? Just ready to go. And I know there's variations to that, but basically here's your tax documents, and they provide that free. Typically the platforms pay TaxBit, and then the platforms provide that to you for free. So it's an amazing business model that everyone on here will probably engage with TaxBit at some point if you're trading in cryptos at all. But anyway, so again, really lucky to have their head of blockchain come and join us today. Thank you so much, Nikki. Thanks everybody. As you saw, Vonda put here in the thing, if you're interested in listening to an NFT panel, I gave it a recent Cryptopia conference in which Nikki also was on a panel. She was on the DeFi panel. I was on the NFT panel, and you can find links to that just right there in the chat. So thanks everybody. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you later. Thanks, Nikki. Bye.